Hi everyone. Um, I know I didn't put a video yesterday or before yesterday just because I was in Milan and I really didn't do enough for a whole video. And so I just figured I'd just put all 3 days that I'm just resting in Milan as one big video. And no, I just took a lot of notes just because there's a lot to talk about. But yeah. So I just started, so it's Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. On Monday, I thought I planned for a passport to get my passport done at the consulate. So I walked over at 8:30 in the morning. I made it there for 9:25, and once I got there, they told me that they couldn't see my appointment because I had done it for the day after. So I just made sure that I had all the documents I needed. Turns out I didn't have the declaration of loss, that I lost my passport. So I asked them where to do it, and they were like, "Oh, just do it at the carabinieri, like the. It's not the police; it's something a little bit different." So I went there, and they told me they don't do it. I had to go to the police. So I went to the police, and then they said I couldn't do it. So I tried to just use my Italian, which I guess was my bad. I should have just used English, so to avoid confusion. I don't know what I should have done. But anyways, they kept sending me in different places. I ended up at the near the Duomo, near the center of town, and where they made passports. And so obviously somebody had misunderstood me. And the guy was like, "Oh, well, you need to go to the police at this address." And I was starting to get very irritated. So I was like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, and this was in English. I had stopped trying my Italian. I fully was speaking English by then. And he's like, "Yes, I'm sure." I'm like, "Absolutely. Like, there's no way you, like, they're not going to send me anywhere else." They're like, "No, it's the only place in Milan. They do declaration for losses. Like, you have to go there." Perfect. So I go there, and it's somewhere I've already been before that they told me to go somewhere else. And it's just somebody that misunderstood me. So I stayed there. Sorry, in Milan I get these allergies, and so I'm a bit sniffy at the moment and blocked up. So I went there and declared my lost passport. Everything went well. Just a little funny side note: there was this small family that was there as well because they had all their money stolen. But when the police officer came out and just checked what was our problem, I was like, "Oh, I my passport was lost." He's like, "Oh, okay." And he looks at them and they go, "We have our money stolen." He kind of looks at them and goes, "Why are you here?" And they're like, "No, no, like all our money is stolen." And he's like, "Oh, okay, that's okay." But it's just like his face just was like, "I don't care." Like, so you got 20 euros stolen. There's no, but no. And then by the time I finished, one of my friends happened to be in Milan at the same time, and I didn't know about this. So once I figured it out, I went to meet her and her friend for lunch, and we had pizza by the Navilli. It was good. The she said that the day before they had done something on Airbnb, like the events. No, the yeah, I think events, and it was making your own pasta. And so they had joined a class to make their own pasta. They had really loved it, but they said that another option that was available on Airbnb events was for someone to follow you around Milan and to show you where are the good places to take pictures of you for Instagram and like how to pose and everything. And so they didn't do it, but I just thought it was a funny idea of having somebody follow you and take pictures of you. And no, then I went to the crypt. So I was like, well, I have my 3 day museum pass, and today's day number 2. So I'm gonna go to the museum. So I go to the crypt, and the crypt is locked. There's just nobody there. So I go to another museum, and there are people there, but they tell me that it's closed. And then I was like, well, which one is open? They're like, no, 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 all the museums are closed. So I didn't know about that, and so I walk back to here, and then I meet in the evening. I meet Lucy at Porta Venezia, at the Maruzella, at the restaurant Maruzella, where we ate. I had macarone alla norma, which was really good. And then Lucy had a margarita pizza with bufala cheese. And no, at the end of the day, I ended up walking 30,000 steps, which is a lot for me. Uh, well, when it usually recommends, like, it's happy when you do 10,000 steps. So 30,000 steps was pretty much an overkill. And that's it for that night. We just were pretty tired, so we just got home and slept. And then on Tuesday, so that this is yesterday, so I wake up again for the passport at the same time because this is the actual day I'm supposed to do my passport. So I get myself down there. This time I take the bicycle. And yeah, it's very hectic to bike around Milan. Not because like they get stolen or anything. All of them seem to be in pretty good shape. It's just that nobody's wearing a helmet. I think in all the time I've spent in Milan so far, I've only seen two other people wearing a helmet. Even the people like that are doing driving up and down the food in those like big square backpacks they have. They're not wearing helmets, which is kind of scary. And then yeah, there's a lot of pavement like paved stones, so like
Cobblestones.
stones, and so like your bike vibrates a lot, so your mirrors kind of like go wonky. So that's not great. But yeah, that was riding around in Milan. Not a great experience. And on top of that, like your Google Maps does not allow you to choose biking. So either it thinks you're a car and yeah, doesn't give you really good instructions, or it thinks you're pedestrians and will tell you to go on one-way streets and things like that. So yeah, it's not great. So I finally make it to the passport place, the French consulate. Everything goes pretty smoothly. The only thing that she didn't like was that I was doing it in Milan. She's like, why don't you do it in France? And so I told her that, well, like, can I not do it in Milan? And she's like, no, you can. And I'm like, then I want to do it in Milan. Like, and then she's like, okay, but you have to stay here for the next 10 days because your passport's going to come in 10 days. So I agreed. I'm just going to go to Rome tomorrow, but then I'll be back and I'll come back for my passport. But no, otherwise that's pretty much it for the passport. And then I decided, well, now I'm gonna start using my museum pass. So in my way of thinking, that was day number 2 because all the museums were closed on Monday. So Sunday I got the ticket. That's day 1. This would be day 2, and then I'd still have an extra day. So once I get to the aquarium, I asked them that just to make sure, like, this is day number 2, right? And they're like, no, this is day number 3. You started on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And I was like, but everything was closed on Monday. They're like, yeah, no, but it's a 3rd day. And then they compared it to a metro ticket. They're like, if you get a 3-day metro pass, like, it will be for 3 days. And that didn't make any sense to me because I was like, well, the metro's open every day. Like, it's not like suddenly it closes and you can't use it. But I flat out said their system was silly. I don't think she liked it, but I don't. But yeah, it was just, I still think it's very silly. But the aquarium was quite nice. A lot of river fish, so not super colorful fish, and it was rather small. But for what it was okay. Then I went to the archaeology museum, and that had a lot of information, like way too much. I think you can spend like a whole day, maybe even 2 there, just like reading through. Just because at some point my brain was full, and so I tried to write down like the 3 things I learned from that museum. One of them was that the museum was located on the circus part of the old Roman town. And so there was still 2 towers. So at the very entrance where the horses would come out, there'd be 2 towers. One of them part of the circus and one of them part of the outer walls. And both towers are still standing today. They had a bit of reconstruction done because after the circus, they were part of a monastery where one of them was used for a church for the bells and one of them was used for prayer. But they still survived and endured through time. The second thing I learned, it's not part of this, but I learned where Milan comes from, that it's like middle land. And they apparently, according to this museum, they don't mean it in a geographical sense. They don't say it's the middle land, but more in like a religious sense, that it's just the place where all the idols and things were, the middle land. The second thing I found interesting, they had a bunch of not tombstones, but things you have by the tombs talk about the person that is buried. And one of them was for a teacher, and they're like, we recognize it's a teacher because they have in their hands the tools of their trade. One of them are quills, and the other one is a cane to whip the students. So I thought that was rather funny that it's a teacher because of quills and canes. And the last thing is that when the Lombards came down, so it's like a I think it's Germanic or Celtic tribe comes down and took over from the old Roman period. Everybody that belonged to the sort of the church and all the nobles and rich people, they fled, which left the, sort of the Lombards there just without any trace of religion, of the Roman religion, or of rich people. So they kind of settled into the rich palaces, but for a century there was no religion in Milan. After that, I came back here for lunch, where Lucy had left me some lasagna from 2 days before. It was really good. I heated it up and ate. It was perfect. And then I made my way to the crypt. So it was part of the list of museums I can go in with my pass. But it was strange because it was a free entrance. Like, even if you don't have it, you can go in for free. Not super interesting. It's nice in a way that it's a crypt and you can see the history of the church, but it's really small and overall not really worth it. Had been fine not doing it. Then I went to the Risorgimento, the Museum of Risorgimento, and I think it was the best laid out museum in that when you come into a room, it was ordered chronologically. So there'd be like a history of the era. So it'd be like, oh, the Napoleon era. It would give you a little bit of detail about Napoleon in Milan, and then you would see some artifacts about it, and then it'd say, okay, post Napoleon, what's happening, and then give you things about it, and then the king, the monarchy in Milan, and then gives you information, and then you see things. The only problem is that everything that was for the description of the era was only in Italian. And so I could piece it out, but at the end, my brain would just start to get really overworked, and I just couldn't understand anymore. But it was really well laid out. It's just very plain of like, you look, you read, you look, you read, you look. Like, there's nothing to really do, which I know some museums are sort of pushing for more now. But it was interesting in what they was telling. I think the part I liked the most was the 5-day revolt, the revolt of the 5 days, in which like the Austrians were occupying Milan, and within 5 days the Milanese people revolted and kicked the Austrian out. And a couple of months later, the Austrians came back and took it over. But it was the first time they used the tricolor flag, so I thought that was quite nice. Then I came back here, and Lucy made this chicken dish. So chicken with peas and carrots. I ate fine. It was really good. Then we played chess. I managed to beat both games, but we did it while watching The Lion in the Winter, because we had spoken about Eleanor of Aquitaine the day before. So when watching, it's a movie about sort of her and Henry II and Richard Lionheart. So we watched it. So it was a bit distracting. And in the end, we didn't even finish the movie because it wasn't. I guess we would have been better to sit down and actually pay attention, but just half paying attention wasn't cutting it for us. And there's not a lot of action; it's a lot of talk. So it wasn't great for that. And no, at the end of the night, Lucy made brownies, and they are delicious. And then finally we get to today, but today's really short just because I was really lazy. Today was my lazy day. Just hung out here a lot. Went to a little cafe towards the afternoon called Utopia, and just wrote my postcards, but then just came back here. And in the evening we went to a restaurant called Cabo Verde, where we met Claire and Edo. Here, I'll turn the camera so you can see Lucy. There we go.
Hi.
Hello. So yeah, we met with Claire and Edo. So it was 4 of us, and we just, we talked and chatted and everything.
That's nice.
It was good. The food was really good, actually. I keep forgetting the main dish. It sounds like gnocchi, but it's not gnocchi.
Gnocco fritto.
Gnocco
as an appetizer, which is like fried dough. You can stuff with mozzarella and ham. Very, very good.
Yeah, and there was even avocado, wasn't there?
No, that was because we got a bunch of appetizers. So we had the gnocco fritto that came with ham, and then we got a dish of mozzarella with avocado.
Oh, I thought you were supposed to put it in. No. Oh, okay, that's just a
fine.
you thing.
That's okay. No rules.
So that was the first part, and for the main dish, I had eggplant parmesan, which was delicious because I love eggplant, and then you had pesto mint pasta.
Yeah, pesto made with it was like a mint pesto in trofie, which are the typical pasta that you use with pesto. So.
And then for dessert, I didn't have any dessert. Then you had like an ice cream.
Yeah, semifreddo. It's amaretti. It's like those amaretti, like those almond cookies, made into like a kind of like soft ice cream kind of thing. So yeah, good stuff.
I don't know. What was your highlight of the night?
The pesto. I don't know.
Not the conversation.
No, it was really good. It was a fun night. Everybody I think it was nice to still be able to all chat, even though like nobody spoke the same language.
I had a hard time with Eda just because I could speak Spanish. He understands Spanish. That did help. But I would speak Spanish,
But
and I
then
could.
Claire didn't understand. So
Yes, Claire wasn't understanding Spanish, so I could. Yeah, it was a bit of a mixed match of who could speak what.
It worked out.
And yeah, I asked Edo, since he's Italian, I was like, when Lucy speaks Italian, what word does her accent come from?
He said French.
And he said French. Yeah, he's like, he doesn't sound too convinced though. I mean, it's not like, I don't think it's a very thick accent or anything, but yeah, I was just wondering if it was more sort of English or American or.
I think it's more French.
French. Okay.
That's what a lot of people say, but I don't know. Probably, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so this is all of his last night in Milan. He's gonna come back on the 7th, but it's been great to have him around. And off you go to Rome and come back with new adventures. And yeah, good luck. Well, we're all counting on him.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.